You're live. Chair Basic, do you want to take it away?
Hi there, everybody. Let's see. I believe if I'm correct, Teresa, the first thing that we do is the roll call and then go to public comment. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can please, Teresa, take roll call to determine if there's a quorum, and then we'll get going.
That's great. Susan Bacchian,
Present.
Mary Basic,
Present.
Christopher I. Don, Nydia Johnson,
Present.
Devin Kenyon,
Present.
Mary Beth Milan,
Present.
Tiffany Gabrielson.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. So we will go forward, and the first thing that we will do in this meeting is take comments from the public, and I will turn it over to the bar staff to manage that.
Thanks very much, Chair Basic. A couple of things for those participating online. If you would like to make a public comment, please choose the raise hand function. And if you are on a phone, you can also use *9. In addition, there was one public comment which was that was received in writing, and that was distributed to the members prior to the meeting. Thank you. And we see one hand. I'd like to recognize Ray Hayden. It'll take just a moment. We see a second behind that as well. So Mr. Hayden, welcome. You are recognized for 3 minutes. Thank you.
All right, I'm making the assumption, dangerous, that you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Well, it's great to see Mary Basic in there. I'm a huge fan. Anyway, so with that all said, I assume that that was my public comment that y'all saw. And you all have. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Anyways, so I just want to touch on this. And this is actually for the people who are not getting that and out there in the public and everything else, because they will see this on the video after the fact. So item 3.1, my basic thing is that for the February 2025 California General Bar Exam, we should be having the Kaplan multiple choice questions in use by that time. And the exam should be offered remotely. That's my big deal, is the remote exam must be widely remote. Worldwide would be fantastic. At authorized testing centers is fine, but at least at a minimum across the entire United States. I'm in Florida and I'm not going to California to take it more. I've been out there for 6 first-year exams and 6 California bar exams, twice of which ExamSoft ate my answers. And in July 2021, CalBar gave me my money back. Okay, item 3.2, the June 24 first-year law student exam update. I am just going to be all ears for that one. Clap, clap, clap. I'm really hoping that the pass rate changes on that, and the 80% failure rate is unsustainable in every realm of anything. Item 3.3, guidelines impacting foreign educated applicants and LLM recipients. I'm going to be all ears on that one too, because I'm not sure exactly what that one's about. But I do know I have a lot of friends around the world who are they're either foreign educated or they've been admitted and maybe they have an LLM. So I'm really going to be interested in that one. And item 7.1, ways to increase applicant participant in state bar programs. And it's talking about also repeaters, of which I am just a multiple repeater. I just can't help myself. I love this thing. But anyway, so I'd be very interested in hearing what that goes on with. I think my time is about up. So with that, thank you very much. It's great to see a number of you there that I've known about and maybe never seen before on the video. So thank you very much. Have a fantastic meeting. Oh, hi, Audrey.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments with us. Is there anyone else who has a hand raised?
Yes, I would like to identify and promote Todd Hill to make a public comment of up to 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Hope you can hear me.
I
Yes.
would like to start out with just a record keeping item. I did submit written public comment and I submitted it within the 24-hour time frame that State Bar publishes on its website. So hopefully that document was also distributed, as I understand that Mr. Hayden had his public comment distributed, it seems, but perhaps not mine.
I
And
don't
with
want to,
that,
I'm so sorry. I don't want to cut into your time, but we did receive your comment and we will correct the record to reflect that. Go ahead, Mr. Hill.
thank you very much. Well, okay, then I will start, Ms. Basic. This team, members of the Law School Admissions Council. My name is Todd Hill, and I'm a former student and board member of the People's College of Law. I stand before you today to address a critical issue, the role of governmental complicity in perpetuating racial, educational, and professional exclusion within California's legal education system. Early in the 20th century, cities like Baltimore enacted ordinances to create racially homogeneous neighborhoods. Blacks were prohibited from moving to white areas, and whites were prohibited from moving to black areas. Even after the Supreme Court invalidated such zoning ordinances in Buchanan v. Worley in 1917, many cities simply ignored the ruling. Similarly, racially restrictive covenants forbade non-whites from purchasing or occupying properties. These covenants, endorsed and enforced by government agencies at all levels, entrenched racial segregation. The Federal Housing Administration values covenants as a means to maintain racial harmony and reduce financial risk. Developers were often required to include these covenants to receive federal support, systematically excluding African Americans from new, affordable housing opportunities. Realtors who opposed restrictive covenants faced disciplinary actions, and Black individuals who defied them were often evicted or penalized by the courts. Fast forward to today, and we see echoes of this historical racial segregation in California's legal education system. The State Bar, although operating in a different regulatory sphere, mimics these historical paths used by governments to restrict choice and opportunity for African Americans. By failing to adequately regulate unaccredited law schools and enforce compliance, the State Bar has allowed institutions like PCL to perpetuate practices that disproportionately harm African American students and other marginalized communities. De jure discrimination, defined as discrimination enforced by law or official government policy, contrasts with de facto discrimination, which occurs through social practices and institutions without legal enforcement. The State Bar's non-interference policy, much like the FHA's valorization of racially restrictive covenants, effectively sanctions the exclusion and deprivation of vulnerable populations. This issue goes beyond neglect. It is an intentional restriction of opportunities akin to de jure desegregation. By failing to act, certain individuals within the State Bar are complicit in maintaining a system that systematically disadvantages African Americans and other underrepresented communities. This is not just a failure of oversight, it is a failure of justice. The data reveals alarmingly low passage rates for African American students on the bar exam, the baby bar exam, as a direct consequence of substandard education and discriminatory practices at institutions like PCL. This mirrors historical practice where governmental policies and actions intentionally segregated and marginalized African Americans. To those within the State Bar who are committed to upholding the integrity and fairness of our legal education system, I urge you to recognize this complicity and take action. Your colleagues' neglect and inaction are not just administrative oversights, they are acts of discrimination that echo the darkest chapters of our history. By failing to address these issues, you allow a legacy of segregation to persist, harming countless students and undermining public's trust. It is not difficult to conceive of ways to rectify the legacy of de jure segregation in California's legal education marketplace. But first, the State Bar must take a more active regulatory role, ensuring that all law schools, accredited or not, adhere to strict standards of transparency and accountability. Regular audits and public reporting compliance status should be mandatory and strictly enforced. Lastly, there should be a concerted effort to diversify the State Bar's regulatory bodies and decision-making panels and employee base, quite frankly. This will help in making more informed and empathetic decisions that protect the interests of all students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments with us. Do we have any other members of the public who are wishing to make comment?
No, there are no additional, and let the record reflect that normally Teresa would handle the portion regarding the distribution of public comments due to a technical defect. I stepped in. If I misstepped, I apologize. In order to be completely clear, we will redistribute both public comments again, and we will also correct the record. And in this case, because we also had a conversation with Todd Hill during his time, we restarted the timer to ensure that he would have a full uninterrupted 3 minutes plus a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so this is time for the chair report. So I would like to point out, normally we would be talking about what is coming up with the California, the board meeting, and the agenda for the August 16 meeting is going to be posted this afternoon. So we don't have that yet to be talking about, but that is something to look forward to and something we should look for. I wanted to point out that the state bar has started using a new software system to post these agendas, but they are still located in the same place they have always been, which is by going to the website's landing page, click on the About Us, then on the Meeting Agendas tab, and then click on the Committee of Bar Examiners meeting agenda for the August 16th meeting. That will be posted later today. That meeting will take place in person in the Los Angeles, California Bar office and will be available online. There'll be a link much like this meeting. They meet in person, the California Bar Examiners, approximately twice a year, and they also offer an online viewing option when they do meet in person. In addition, I would like to thank all of you on the Law School Council for your work over this past year. This is the end of our cycle and the final month of the committee year. And the other thing I wanted to point out, although Christopher is not here, I wanted to thank Christopher Idon and Nydia Johnson for their service on the committee. This is their last meeting with us, so thank you so much, Nydia, and we'll extend that to Christopher Idon when we see him next. And with that, I will turn it over to the CalBAR staff for the director's report.
Actually, most of those topics will be actually consumed within the meeting, but just a couple of quick items regarding the Law School Council and new members coming on. We will collect applications all year round from administrators at ABA-approved law schools to serve on the Law School Council. The application period closes each year on June 30, but is already open for next year's selection. The selections will be made by the chair and vice chair of the CBE, who will be selected later this month, so that the new members can attend the next meeting of the Law School Council. And then also just a reminder regarding this upcoming CBE meeting, it will be a hybrid meeting. It will be in person in Los Angeles, as well as online, much as you see here. So members of the public will be able to participate by going to the State Bar San Francisco office on Figueroa Street, or they may also view online and can still make public comments online, though it is a hybrid meeting. So thank you for the chance to share those logistics. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Now we will turn to the staff report, and the first item on the agenda is going to be Cody Hunanian. Did I say that right?
You nailed
Sorry.
it. Yes. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Cody.
That was perfect.
He's going to give us an update on the February 2025 bar exam administration, which I'm sure we're all excited to hear about.
Yes. Well, first off, thank you all because I know I've come to several of these meetings as well as other committees and entities providing updates as we've moved through this process. And I know we're all very eager to kind of get to the finish line. The update that I have to share with you all today, I think is very meaningful, particularly from our vantage point here at the State Bar. It's not the complete finish line, but we are an inch closer. So I wanted to highlight for those of you who aren't tracking our board meetings every month like I might. The board did take action at its July meeting to finalize an agreement with test prep company Kaplan to develop our multiple choice questions for the February 2025 bar exam and beyond. That agreement is still being finalized, so it's not on the books yet, but it was an important step because this agreement did require approval from the board. And so we are eager and optimistic that that will be finalized very soon. Recognizing, our timing here, staff will be really essentially immediately engaging in the steps necessary for evaluating these new items, and initiating our content, validation process. And one of the pieces of that effort, the content evaluation effort, is the establishment of a panel of various types of experts and perspectives to look at these questions and evaluate them. And I do want to at least point out here that we are interested in hearing from recently admitted attorneys or supervisors of recently admitted attorneys to participate in this evaluation effort. So if you have individuals who fit either one of those buckets, they can certainly reach out to myself or have them reach out to the Office of Admissions broadly using the our contact form online if needed. So that is the update. And of course, as soon as things are even more in focus, we will be sure to communicate with our various stakeholders where we're at. So again, I think we're very eager and excited for a final resolution to this soon, but that's my update for now.
Thank you so much. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do we know when we will know about the administration part, if it's going to be remote at home or in centers? Do you know when that information might be available?
Yes, I mean, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse because we do need to finalize this agreement with the exam development company to then be able to fully commit to our administration. So long as the agreement is finalized, we are going to be pursuing a sort of, I guess, hybrid approach where we'll be administering the exam mostly remotely with a test center component for certain populations. So that is the vision. I guess I can't confirm whether we'll do that or not because we're still waiting for this final component of this agreement to be finalized. I think we did share with the board that at the time of the last meeting that we still were in talks and engaging with exam facilities as an alternative if necessary. But I think pending or following the this new development with the board approval, I think we're in a good position to really move forward with finalizing this new vision.
Thank you so much. That is actually really helpful. Nydia, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Cody. Is
course.
there like a date certain by which we would know? I'm thinking just along the sides of law schools, if it is fully remote for most of the population, if we want to support our bar takers by, then now hosting a quiet space for them to take the exam, if they may not have such a space, like just the planning that we would need to do. For example, like at Southwestern, we're not only on a semester system, we also have a 2-year accelerated program. So we're also on a quarter system with that program. So like securing space and doing the logistical planning of that, is there a date certain by which we would know?
No, I mean, I wish we had a clear date. I think the answer at this point is as soon as possible from our end. And so as soon as we can get past this step of finalizing the agreement, I think we'll then have a better sense of when we can kind of confirm that we have finalized our choice for a vendor for administering the remote exam and then can give you a clearer date. So at this point, I don't have a firm date, but
I'll say some dates, not
Oh,
real.
great. Okay, well, if
Dates that
anything
we
clear.
have- what we have to know, right? So if we get everything finalized, there's a board meeting in September, right? So there's a procurement process for contracts. So assumedly this will be a contract, right? That we'd have to do with this vendor. So there's a board meeting in September. The February bar exam opens October 1st, right? So we have to know how we're administering. So those are some dates that are coming up where we'll have to know, right? So like Cody's saying, hopefully as soon as cart is done, we can do horse, and then everything will go out in a communication plan. But there's some things that have to happen procurement wise that the board has to approve as well. And there's a board meeting in September. So that's what I would say in terms of upcoming dates.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Did anyone else have any questions for Cody? Thank you so much for your report. That is super helpful for us to know. Our next item on the agenda is the update on administration of the June 2024 first-year law school students examination administration and plan for analysis by Adrian DeLange.
Thanks, Mary. We're going to be promoting Adrian from the audience to share an update from him for you.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Adrian.
Sure. So we recently administered the June 2024 first year law students exam. It was administered by Prometric. There were 243 applicants. 161 of those were first-time takers. 175 of those applicants tested in person at a Prometric test center. Had 68 applicants online. This was the first exam where we switched to an all multiple choice question exam. So along with that, the State Bar did conduct a standard setting study. Within that study, we did have 8 panelists. I do see one of those panelists here today. But also included in that panel, we had deans or assistant deans, academic success or bar prep professionals, professors, as well as a member of the CBE. That panel, they were tasked with reviewing the first year exam and developing a recommended passing score. Results were originally scheduled to be released on August 9, but because the study just recently concluded and their recommendation will have to go to the August 16th Committee of Bar Examiners meeting, results were or are being on August 30th. We did send notice to all 243 of those applicants the week before the bar exam. And we'll be updating the first year exam page shortly to also indicate that. And I think that's it. Sorry, this is my first time reporting this. So I don't know if that's too much or too little. Anyone have any questions?
You're doing great. Did I say your name right, Adrian?
I might have missed it because I was joining as panelist. I'm sure it's fine.
Okay, I appreciate that. Devin has a question for us. Go ahead, Devin.
We don't typically have a lot of students take the first year exam. We use it as a part of a readmit process, but we definitely had some folks who were surprised that the results were going to come out a little bit late, which creates an issue for us because our students will already be in school. Should we expect that this will be the new release date, or is this a just one time and we will go back to them normally having results earlier?
One time. So this delayed release of results, it's for this exam only, and just because we had to conduct that study.
Good. And then the follow-up question is, since this is all multiple choice, and like, is there a reason why these results couldn't be released even earlier in the future, since there's very little work that actually has to go into the grading now?
It's definitely possible, because you're right. So now that we won't have to grade any essays, it'll all just be the multiple choice questions. There is potential that the results could be released sooner. I'm not going to promise that right now.
All right. Oh, Mary Beth has a question.
Sorry, I guess I do have a follow-up question because I was wondering about the point that Devin just made. And we don't have students take this first year test at my school, but I assume that for other schools where they are conditioning readmission or where they are conditioning continued enrollment on this test, what is the State Bar doing to mitigate this problem for schools? I mean, we start our first year classes August 19th, I assume, not our first year, but our regular fall session starts. What are you doing to help out with students who are precariously perched waiting for the results of this test?
So we've taken is it okay if I take this one, Adrian?
Of
We've
course.
taken a number of steps already in concert with Adrian's team. First of all, we've notified all of the deans who have individuals in this pool, so they're aware of the timing. And generally, in it's a readmit situation for most ABA schools, but they are within their refund period or their restart period. So this is not the timing that we're going to want to choose going forward, but we've let them know, and we're looking to see how quickly we can get the full pass-fail list in the hands of the deans as well. In addition, and then with respect to the registered and unaccredited schools, we should be well within the margin of the refund period for those schools. And many students at those schools actually choose to continue pending their results regardless. It would be rare for them to actually hold their first year studies pending these results. So it's definitely something that we're keeping in mind, and we've invited questions in case there's an unintended consequence we haven't prepared for.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Adrian on the first year law school exam and that administration? All right, then thank you so much for your report, Adrian. You did great.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Okay, our third staff report is going to come from Patty Salazar, and it is on the update on revisions to the guidelines impacting foreign educated applicants and LLM recipients.
Thanks, Mary. We're in the process of promoting Patty now from our eligibility team. And it might be helpful to know that though this is the first time Adrian is addressing you on bar exam topics, he's been working on developing the legal spec exams, 13 exams all at once for a number of years. So he's probably delighted to just work on one exam in this project.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so let me show everyone my screen here. And everyone can see my screen okay?
Yes, thank you.
Alrighty, so thank you everyone for letting me speak to you today. My name is Patty Salazar. I work in the eligibility group within the Office of Admissions, and I'm basically going to go over the eligibility for foreign educated folks that want to take the California bar exam. So the committee, let me go ahead and minimize this. Go ahead and close this out. Okay. So the Committee of Bar Examiners amended its guidelines on June 21st, 2024, with an effective date of March 1st, 2024. Staff did contact applicants who became eligible due to the policy change in order for them to be eligible for the July examination. Just as a refresher, what we look for is a detailed course by course credential evaluation report from an approved agency, and the agency must determine that the applicant does possess a first degree in law that is equivalent to a Juris Doctor degree, or that the applicant has met the educational requirements needed to begin the practice of law in a foreign country. And now we do also accept LSAC credential reports for those applicants, as long as they indicate they do have a first degree in law. Okay. And the guideline was amended to when an applicant does have a first degree in law, that they either complete an LLM degree based on a minimum of 20 semester units, or they complete a minimum of 20 semester units or equivalent in either a non-degree granting program, a JD program, or an LLM degree program. But if they did not obtain that LLM degree, they have to complete those 12 units on 4 bar tested subjects. So that's the difference. The old guidelines used to require them, even if they did graduate with an LLM degree, that they had to take the 4 bar tested units on bar tested subjects. I'm sorry, but that is no longer required. Professional responsibility is still a required course. All coursework must still be completed within 36 months. And upon completion, we do require an official sealed LLM transcript. An official sealed transcript. Okay. Just as a refresher, this is a reminder that these are the 13 subjects that are tested on the bar exam. So they do have to complete. Those that do not graduate with their LLM degree, we look for 12 units on 4 separate bar tested subjects, with professional responsibility being a required course. Okay. And if a student does not have a first degree in law, but meets the pre-legal requirements, they must, so what happened is we'll get an evaluation report back, and if the person meets the first degree in law, then great. They just have to complete their LLM, required coursework. If a credential evaluation report is received back and it does not indicate that the person has a first degree in law, but they meet the 60 semester units of undergraduate study, then the person just has to complete a USJD degree. If an applicant does not have a first degree in law and only has like 30 semester units of undergraduate study, then the person still has to complete the additional units to begin the study of law. And in addition, they must complete either a USJD degree or complete 4 years of recognized law study pursuant to our admission rules. Okay. And that is it. I know it went really quickly for me too. I'm a first-time panelist speaker, so does anyone have any questions for me?
Yes, Devin.
Thank you, Patricia. We get lots of questions about this from our
Yes.
LLM. I just want to make sure I understand this, because it seems kind of odd to me now that if a student does an LLM and only takes PR, they are now eligible to sit for the bar, even if they've taken no other bar subjects.
Correct. This allows more flexibility for the applicant. Say you have an applicant that wants to specialize in taxation law, and they're able to do that as long as they take that PR course. That's why, and we always mention it at the registrar meeting, for anyone who's coming in that's foreign educated, you want to make sure you ask them, first of all, if they've been admitted fully into any other foreign jurisdiction without restrictions. If so, they are a foreign attorney applicant when they come and register with us. If that's the case, and they just want to do an LLM for their own personal bar prep, they don't even have to take that PR course, because we won't ask them for their legal education. But if they have not been fully admitted in their foreign country, then you want to make sure and have them take that PR course if they plan on graduating with their LLM degree. Now there's a difference. If they plan on applying for the exam prior to, because they're able to take the exam also as long as they complete the 20 semester units, that's when you want to make sure you explain to them, okay, well, if you want to take it before you obtain the LLM degree, you have to take those 12 units on 4 bar tested subjects. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, as someone who has to advise these students, almost very few LLMs can pass the bar, even with taking 4 bar subjects. So I suspect we're going to have even fewer international people passing the bar exam with this.
Yeah, and that's why the guideline does state it's strongly suggested, but it's no longer required.
Yeah, I can sort of tell you, and I've seen some bobbing heads suggest that the people who advise these students in the law schools are going to be giving different advice than what you require. So.
Yeah, and we have updated our guidelines on our website already also.
Yes, Susan.
The perfect transition question to what Patty just said. Is there a way to give us the link to where we can find exactly the new set of rules?
Yes, I'll make sure and give it to Teresa so she could pass it along. Is that okay, Teresa?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And also, just for members of the public, it is publicly available on the State Bar's website in the foreign education section under the admissions pages. And so we encourage everyone to take a look if they have this interest.
Any other questions?
It looks like we're good. Thank you for your report, Patty. Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Thank you.
All righty. So now we've had the staff reports and we are going to move to approval of the minutes from the June 11, 2024 Law School Council. And did anyone have any changes or updates to the minutes? Call to our attention. Okay, then would anybody like to make a motion, or I will make a motion that we approve the minutes? Can anyone make a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Susan. And then we will have Teresa take the roll call on the vote to see if we can approve the minutes.
Thanks, Chair Basic. Susan Bakshian,
Approved.
Christopher I. Don, Nydia Johnson,
Approved.
Devin Kenyon,
Approve.
Mary Beth Milan,
It's Moylan, and I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
apologies for that. Tiffany Gabrielson,
Approved.
and Chair Basic.
Approve.
All right, with 5 yeses and 0 no's, the motion carries.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we are moving to the business section of the meeting, and we are going to have a discussion about increasing participation in state bar programs for both applicants and programming directed towards repeat takers. And I believe that Ken Norse is going to be joining us.
Yes, so we're going to bring him to welcome you. And we've talked about these programs before. We want to give you an update about how they're doing. And today we want to use a lens of learning how, or if at all, or if you have incorporated these programs into your bar prep in ways that we can help you do so, or barriers that have made it harder going forward. We're really excited to be able to bring these programs with you. The State Bar has been investing financially and investing in terms of time. We've been really thrilled to see the results. The first program, which you've heard a lot about, and at the last CBE meeting, we had an in-depth presentation from the study designers, is the Bar Strategies and Stories program, which is available to all bar applicants. That program takes less than 2 hours to complete. It helps students remain in a productive mindset during the program, during their study for the bar. It was designed by a consortium of academics in both law and psychology, and they've been able to collect significant data showing that there has been a real advantage to taking that program for all applicants, with a particular advantage to first-generation college students, as well as minority takers. So I know that you're very well familiar with that. The Bar Retaker Support Group is a newer program. We've asked Ken to come back and talk a little bit more about it and the program and how the program is going to be analyzed. And then we'd like to open an interactive discussion with you and to invite comments from the public in writing after this meeting about how you've been incorporating it and how we can partner better in the future. So with that, I'd like to welcome Ken Norse from our Lawyer Assistance Program. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Natalie. As Natalie mentioned, we are trying to increase our programming here at the State Bar. I joined in October from McGeorge School of Law. It's great to see you, Professor Moylan. I'm a senior program analyst in the Lawyer's Assistance Program. Our programming focuses on things for law students, bar applicants, and admitted attorneys. I was very excited when I joined in October to learn that one of my first assignments would be to focus on bar applicants, drawing from my higher ed background. But I just want to foreshadow a programming that I'm working on right now, and that is an ADHD support program. I'm currently working with experts in the field to design a program. It's looking like it's going to be approximately 6 weeks that we'll be launching in the fall. So I just wanted to put that idea out there. So to please keep your eye out for that ADHD support program. But I'm going to share my screen. I'd like to just review a brief presentation first to make sure that we're all on the same page and up to speed on the BAR Retaker Support Program. Just a moment as I do that. Can everyone see my screen? Great. So the program that I'll be talking about is the General Bar Examination Retaker Support Program. And this is really a debrief presentation. I'm currently working on a full debrief internally here at the State Bar. But first of all, this, as I mentioned, this initiative was really focused on bar applicants specifically. And I'd like to thank Dean Basic for her input and support of the program. You'll see that she's had a really important part in leading this program. So first of all, this program went from May to June of this past cycle, 2024. The criteria that I focused on for participants is, first of all, that retakers had to graduate from a California law school. I wanted to focus on the general bar exam as well. That way we would be hitting the largest number of retakers. And then retakers specifically, as opposed to people who were first-time takers. My analysis of the data showed that the best predictor of bar exam failure is actually a prior failed attempt. And in addition to that, we see that retakers are also disproportionately represented as first gen, and members of historically marginalized populations fits in very well with a state bar mission. The program was geared to address really two different kinds of retakers that we saw. First of all, there are immediate retakers, and these are retakers who need to rapidly rebound. They just learned that they failed their prior attempt and they need to get into the right frame of mind for retaking the next bar exam. And then we have delayed retakers. Delayed retakers often have taken a break from studying and they need to re-engage with the bar exam and related material. I felt that this program should be structured to be complementary to the existing asynchronous strategies and stories program. So we really focused on live interactive sessions that focused not only on mental health aspects of preparing for the bar, but also study skills, really hitting these two important parts. I can say that I was inspired by the work of the DC Bar Lawyers Assistance Program, which leads a support group, actually. It's quite small. They have about a dozen members, and they focus only on mental health, though. I thought it was important to include those study skills. And invitations were sent out in 3 waves, directly to retakers. First of all, we sent out an invitation before results for the February bar were released, trying to get people who had registered, and those would be the delayed retakers I was talking about. Then we followed up with a wave of invitations to people who had just learned that they had failed the bar, but were reapplying to take the bar. And then the third wave of invitations was to just catch everyone who had applied to retake the bar for this July. So we decided on a total of 4 sessions. We felt it was very important that the first and fourth focus on mental preparation, trying to rebuild the confidence of the people who had just learned that they had failed, for example, on their prior attempt, and then also to have that mental preparation at the end of the program to get people ready for that big game day that's coming up. The first session was called Resilience Reset, Mind-Body Balance for Exam Success. That was led by a contract individual therapist who leads groups here at the State Bar, Laura Lisby. She also did the 4th session that was focused on mental prep as well. We had 135 attendees for that very first session. The second session was led by Dean Basic and her co-author Tina Schindler, and that was Strategize for Success, Mastering the MBE and Beyond. And by the way, these were all held in the evening from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. to really make sure that people who were working, who had other obligations, would have the best chance of attending. No surprise, we had a larger number of people attend that with 171 attendees. The third session was Techniques for the Final Push, Building Confidence with Essays, PT, and Memorization. I'm very happy to report that that was led by my former colleague, Lindsay Harrington, who's Director of Bar Support at McGeorge, and we had 176 attendees for that session. The final session, as I said, the mental prep session, was Mindset Mastery, Self-Compassion, and Self-Care for Confidence. also held in the evening, and we had 115 attendees. And my best analysis of attendee reports showed that we had 279 total unique attendees. So from my perspective, it was, quite successful in terms of attendees, but that might have been around 10% actually of the total population of retakers. So here's the feedback that we received. First of all, I did issue surveys, but unfortunately our completion rate was low, between 10 and 20%, depending on the session. And then I wanted to gather, of course, input on the format, the content, and the ultimate utility of each session. Here's some feedback that we had. First of all sessions increased perceived bar exam skills, and that would be both the mental prep skills and the study skills that were presented during the sessions. Here's some just quotes I pulled out. First of all, I learned that there are more people suffering from anxiety regarding the bar exam. I'm not alone in this journey. Remember that a lot of retakers are completely alone in their studying. They're not surrounded by law school classmates, for example. Also, I really liked how we put the techniques in practice right away, and that really came to the fore during the mental health sessions when Laura Lisby walked people through concepts or strategies such as box breathing to relieve anxiety. Another point, they really enjoyed learning about interpreting my score. That was the very first thing that Dean Basic did in her session. It turns out retakers, it's been a long time for some of them. They don't really understand what that score report is. Of course, their score report should be suggesting how they study. It was also insightful to learn how to customize a study schedule while working full time. These retakers have a lot of other demands on their time. And then, no surprise, excellent instructors, great bar prep information. I did want to include a couple of negative comments to give some ideas about what those sentiments were. It felt like it's a pre-recorded session with no real interactions with both presenters and attendees. In fact, it was presented live, and we did as best as we could, given these large numbers, to have interactivity. We solicited comments from students. And another negative comment, it needed more time, thought more questions could have been answered. That was especially true, of course, during the study sessions. And then finally, we had several comments from foreign LLM repeat takers that mentioned that the session was not geared to them. I did not want to leave them out of this, knowing that they would be taking the general bar exam. I don't think we're going to be able to actually have the sessions focused towards foreign LLM repeat takers, unfortunately. But here, based on the feedback that we had from attendees, discussions with Dean Basic and the other presenters, here are some potential plans that we have. First of all, we're looking at evening sessions beginning in mid-November. This is really based on when the results come out for the July bar. And again, evening session seems to have been best for everyone. The first week might examine a mindset reset and score interpretation sessions. The second week could focus on general study skills, timelines, and memorization. The third to fifth week sessions might focus separately on essays, MBE, and PT very differently than we did in this initial pilot, where we had some of those things in just one session. And then finally, the sixth week would focus on exam day and mindset preparation. Supporting materials. We really want to look into how we can provide greater support for these retakers and also for people who are not able to attend the sessions. We're considering things like pre-recorded topics, including score interpretation and other topics that we will identify during the course of our discussions. Finally, we're also thinking about having the program survey be done during the course of each session, although that won't allow retakers to consider the session, with time. We feel that it's the best way to try to capture feedback. And then the marketing plan at this point looks substantially similar. We'll be sending invitations directly to retakers. We're not planning on advertising this far and wide since it is specific to retakers, but there is an opportunity for potential additional messaging from law schools. So I'd like to end my presentation there. I just wanted to make sure that we were all familiar with the program, and I would love your feedback and input, not only on ways that we can increase attendance, but also on ways that we might be able to better market the program. Yes, Natalie. Oh, I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, this is my question. I appreciate that you are automatically reaching out to each retaker as they plan to register for the bar exam. Upon getting their result letters, you do have a pool of individuals that have not yet been successful in the exam and are trying to decide whether or not to take the exam. This could be something that helps them decide, yes, I am ready to take it this time. Could schools share this information with that pool of individuals? So for example, if a school looks at their pass-fail list, would they be able to have the information to say, hey, we want you to know that this is going to be available to you upon registration if you're thinking about whether or not to register? Is that something you're open to?
Absolutely. We'd like to get this message out far and wide in a targeted manner, and I think that that would be a great way to do it. I did prepare, based on feedback from another committee, sort of a one-pager on this that was distributed to a certain extent. And, you know, I'd love feedback on that. I'll certainly, I'm able to circulate that as appropriate for feedback. But as I said, I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Susan.
Thank you. One quick comment and one quick question. Just, is this going to be available in the application the way Strategies and Stories is, where they can just check a yes box right then and there?
So that's a great question. We did look into the possibility of doing that on the application. I don't have an answer for you at this point, but it is among the ideas that we're considering, just to try to make it as easy as possible to register. I know that the Stories and Strategies checkbox is set up in a very particular way on the application. Each applicant for that program is given a unique identifier number for research purposes. And it's possible that we could do something similar to that. I would like to collect as much data as possible with this next iteration of the program.
That's terrific. Thank you. And just
Thank you.
one quick thought on your attendance. It's obvious you've got the highest attendance on the 2 days most clearly labeled as study skills and lower attendance on the 2 labeled as mindset. I would just, what I do, because I see this all the time, as everyone else here does as well, mindset is viewed as too soft, too unnecessary, and we all know it's probably more important than study skills, at least as a beginning point. So I would disguise the titling, and I would take mindset and mental health and those kinds of things out of the titles and make them sound exclusively like study skills and have high attendance at all sessions. Because I suspect that they're staying away from the very things they need the most.
Very interesting feedback. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And Devin has a comment or question or something.
Yeah, first, exactly what Susan said. They will never go to anything that doesn't feel super mechanical. The other thing, and you may already be thinking about this, is I think as this program progresses, bar takers will want to know that it actually is effective. And so being able to, even though I don't know that it's a really great indicator, is like, hey, of the however many people, here's how many passed after participating. Just like being able to share that data, I think would make it more attractive. As you think about the agenda for this next cycle, having some specific stuff on taking the exam remotely, I think is going to be really important. You know, what we remember from the sort of active pandemic years is that experience was horrible for our bar takers. And so having somebody talk about that and be prepared to sort of communicate that experience, particularly to repeaters, but I think for everyone, I think it's going to be really, really valuable for them.
Thank you so much. You're actually the first person to mention that. I appreciate it.
And Tiffany.
I just want to echo what was said about it better, maybe even integrating some of the, I don't want to call them soft skills, but some of the skills development in terms of emotional regulation and anxiety with some of the more academic pieces can be helpful. We found that that's helpful in helping students understand this is all connected. And the only other thing I might note is doing some support when people find out that they didn't pass, if they don't pass again, as we think about retakers. are there programs that can be done to help then at that juncture them start to interpret their scores, think about a study plan? So doing something more proactive, not just as the bar aligns, although I know that it'll be a more truncated timeline there.
Thank you.
Mary Beth.
Hi, Ken. Thanks. And great selection of speakers for your program. Also, I really just had this thought. I don't know if it makes sense or not. I kind of echo everyone else's comments about how you might structure it so that you're integrating the mental health piece with the study health piece. And maybe you can call it study health or something, right? So, but I also was thinking about how inspirational it can be for students to hear from other students who have failed, or not students, but now attorneys. So maybe in addition to bringing in the academics and bringing in the mental health professionals, having a few key voices in your program of people who took it a few times and eventually passed, and sort of what their secret sauce was when they finally kind of cracked it and figured it out.
I love that idea. Thank you. I'm even imagining maybe a panel of a few people have, various opinions and perspectives. Thank you.
Did anyone else have any comments? I know one of the things that the State Bar is interested in is getting people to participate in the program. And I don't know if Ken mentioned this, but about double the amount of people signed up for the program that actually showed up. So that was something, if collectively you had any thoughts about increasing participation. To that end, I completely want to echo, I think it was Susan who said, having it as a box to check on the application would be really handy. I know a lot of the communication that comes from the State Bar comes through email format, so it's not something typically where I can send them a link and say, hey, sign up here. If there was a way to get a link that I could add to an email that I'm going to send to them, even with the strategies and stories, I have a screenshot and I send it to them before they sign up for the to sit for the bar exam. When I said, hey, time to sign up, check this box, and I show them what it looks like. But having a link is even more effective than that. But one of those two formats, because I think, like, as a school, it's very hard for me to tell my students, hey, look out for an email from the State Bar when I don't know when it went and it's somewhere lost in their inbox. And so something you can do along those lines, I think would be very helpful to getting more participation. So that's my 2 cents to the conversation. Yeah, Susan.
Along the same lines as Mary's comment, I'm not sure if there is a web page on the State Bar for your new retaker program, the way there is for strategies and stories. Because even though I can't direct them to where, I can direct them to what, which is also at least a little bit helpful.
Thank you.
So Mary, is it okay if I make some frame comments? Okay.
Please do.
Okay, so terrific. So a couple of action items and places to request your feedback. The first one is, this is also an example of why it is important to have your students register within the first 90 days of beginning law study. I know that that's well before the bar exam, but more than ever, we're investing in students at all steps of the process, including the State Bar Day. Today, we learned about an ADHD support group, etc. And that's the easiest way for us to communicate with students directly when we do have that information. So most students do, and we know that it is part of your orientation. To the extent you can confirm it and reinforce it, it's a great way for us to get the message out to everyone. So I appreciate all the efforts there. And the thing about it is that I can tell you the advantages, but I can also tell you there are more advantages that I can't identify now, but I wouldn't want your students to miss. So there's my plug for registration. The next thing I want to do is just get your experience to the extent that you know for either one of these programs. Bar Strategies and Stories, first conceived in 2017, been in a pilot program and a little bit wider pilot program since then. That's part of the reason why we have those unique links. One day we'll get to a point where it's a little bit easier. Bar Boutique are a little bit newer. But have you been incorporating it into any of your bar prep to date? And what happens once the students become graduates and applicants? How much touch do you have with them? And what's the best way for you to communicate with them? And are they getting back to you at this busy time? Because part of us knowing how to reach out is knowing how what's worked for you so far. And this is a new population group to reach in this way. They're not your students anymore, but they're part of your greater alumni family. So how do you communicate with your applicant alumni? And is it different when the brand new alumni versus when they're repeaters or they've waited to take the bar exam? Susan.
I'm just going to be the first to say, if anyone knows how to do this well, please sign me up, because everything I've tried does not work. I don't have good lists from my university. I'm a really big school, so it doesn't help me to get a list of 400 graduates, most of which we think took a bar exam. Getting those things isolated and smaller is difficult, but even in a smaller group, for example, my LLMs are very small and we have an LLM director. We know when they take. The problem we have is alums don't respond well to emails, to most anything you send them, because there's a lot of them. And it seems very hard, at least for me at a big school, to target them properly. And they will respond to me if they know me. But you know what? The ones who don't pass the bar exam at my school often don't know me. So therein lies the sort of, chicken and the egg problem. And I also think back to your registration point, it's, I've had very little luck with trying to use carrots on the registration. I've had better luck with sticks. I have scared them a little bit by telling them that if you don't register, your MPRE scores won't post automatically. Sure. And that things will happen to you that are not good if you do not register for the bar exam, that there can be negative consequences. Because the fact that what I get asked all the time is there a deadline and is there a late fee? Not that I'm saying there should be both of those things, but the absence of those definitely hurts my ability to get this done.
I do have a question related to that. One thing that some of the schools have done is they've created a place in orientation or in that early time when they first start, where it's part of some other program and they basically just pull out their laptops and do that. Has anyone here ever tried anything like that? And how and they tell them in advance because there is a little bit of a charge for it, so they need to be prepared for that. But I don't know if anybody else has tried that in their, in their first 90 days launch plan.
We don't do that orientation. We do communicate it a lot. They hear about it a lot. And I feel like in the last 10 years, we probably have gotten more and more students who actually meet the 90-day deadline. I was going to sort of say, like, specifically Ken's program, we included it in all of our sort of summer communications this last summer. So, I mean, it would be fascinating. I don't even know if you guys have the time to do it, but to see if you have any way of knowing what schools people went to, because it was sort of included with everything else. And I would love to know if any Santa Clara alums ended up there. Similar to what Susan said, like the connection to folks the further they are from graduation is much more tenuous. And for some of them, sadly, their belief is, oh, the reason I didn't pass the bar is because of something at the law school, not, oh, I was disconnected and this damaged me. And so we are not always the best sort of connectors to help amplify things. Like, we definitely are sharing the information. I know, speaking for myself, but we are probably not the first place that they are going to get it. Like, one of the things that I actually think our bar takers have begun to really appreciate is the weekly email from the Office of Admission. Like, they are paying attention to that and they will ask me questions about it, which is helpful. And so, doing more things like that, like kind of sort of harassing them a lot, like just lots of messages in lots of different ways. Like anytime we do any programming during the bar period, they get a message that morning saying, hey, this is happening today. And for a lot of them, unless it's like something that registers with them within like immediately something they got to do it that day, it's like totally off of their radar. And so, you know, something about like the minute a retaker signs up, they get a message every morning before one of these workshops that says, hey, this is going to happen tonight on Zoom, log on, because that then may actually make them sort of do it.
Okay. And Mary Beth.
So as you were asking that question, Natalie, I was actually writing an email to our Dean of Students suggesting that we do it in orientation, do the sign up, but we haven't done that in the past. My concern about it, though, is that there is a fee, and I'm not sure that in orientation is the right time to be having the students who you're still trying to hold on to during the orientation process pay for a thing. We're usually giving them a lot of swag at that point, not like doing things that cost them money. We do a reorientation in January when our students, first years, come back for the second semester. And at that time, we remind them that they should have already done it. So we mention it in orientation, and then we tell them, like, you're late, you should do this because it's more than 90 days by the time we get to January. And so I would be very hesitant to have any kind of late fee. Susan sort of half suggested that, and I was like going, no, don't, like, anything that makes these poor students have to pay more money is not a welcome thing. And I like the fact that when we have the reorientation, we can say, you can still do it. You were supposed to do it within the first 90 days and you're not that far out. So get on and do it now. Like, to me, that feels like the better moment. And maybe we should incorporate it where anybody who hasn't done it, we sort of say, open your laptop and do it right now. So that's one thought. And then in terms of how we can reach out to our own students, we do have a pretty good, tracking. And obviously the ABA makes us track for purposes of the standards, knowing who's passed any bar within the 4 sittings. And so everybody should be tracking and figuring out and having someone at their institution who knows who has not taken a bar yet and what they're doing. But I do think it requires a lot of retail investment, right? So I am often sending emails to people who our bar director has not been able to reach, and enlisting other faculty members who have connections to people to reach out to them. But that takes a lot of effort.
Thanks. Susan.
Just to clarify, I wasn't suggesting an increased fee. I was just suggesting that the absence of a deadline where the fee increases the way it does for everything else is part of the problem for students not doing it. The other resistance I get is that I have an increasing number of students tell me they're not sure they're taking California. And because of that, and because they are contemplating other jurisdictions and other states, they don't necessarily want to register with the state bar. The only other question I had, and I'm not sure if this is even feasible, is would it be possible for us to get a list of who signed up so that I could know who to track down that didn't?
Of who signed up for a future
within the 90 days, like who registered as a first year? Because I don't have any way of knowing whether half my class did it on time or 90% of my class did it on time.
Let me look into that and get back to you to see if that's something we can do.
I realize that might be too difficult, but if it could be automated, it would be very handy for me to have a list and then just find those that I needed to follow up with.
Okay. That's good. Tiffany.
Yeah, I would echo that. And something I was actually writing an email to my folks about is we do co-curricular programming that's mandatory for our first year students at various points during their first few semester, or during their first semester in particular. And incorporating this is something we could definitely do. I have the same concern though around having students sign up and then like get out your credit card or whatever that looks like. And so I don't know if this is actionable at all from a logistical standpoint, but if there was a way to get them to sign up and then they get reminders about paying or something like that, I don't know. I just think that that is an easier way for us to build it into programming, if that's something that we wanted to do.
Okay, something to look into. So also I'm just wondering, I've heard loud and clear that people support mindset programming, but calling it mindset programming might not be the best way out of the gate. One thing that we've hoped to do with some of the analyses we've given, like the very detailed bar strategies and stories, is to give you what data we have on mindset programs. And we're thrilled to see how successful the bar strategies and stories program has been. So we also encourage you to use our data, in that way to help you to promote our programs, but also to advance your programs, and have them go forward together. So definitely feel free to do that. The bar strategies and stories program comes from the Indiana University Equity Accelerator. That's currently the program sponsor. You can go up on their website and get a lot of data there that you can use in your school as well. So that's really nice to do. And then also I wondered how much non-email contact do you have with alumni? I'm going to guess not a lot with what we've heard so far, but we know that with students, we sort of have to call them and say, hello, I sent you an email. Could you please open it? And then they'll say, well, I'm not actually picking up this call, but eventually I'll get the voicemail and then I'll read the email. For your alums, are text or social media or some other type of communication better, or this is a constantly evolving thing? The holy grail question. We wish we
I'll
knew the
just
answer.
say, to go back to what Susan said, you figure it out, you let us know, because I think we are all struggling on the same lines to get participation. It's the same people who read the email who are going to engage with us on social media or read the text. So or pick up the call. It's getting everybody else. That's always a challenge. Oh, but Devin has an idea.
Well, I don't know that it's a unique idea, but one of the things that we've really learned is that making sure that everybody in our building knows what the messages are is really critical. And so, even the folks who may ignore my messages, they may have a favorite faculty member who they actually sort of really listen to. And so a few years ago, we started my office being really like aggressive about messaging everybody in the building about everything. Some of my faculty colleagues, I'm sure, have like filtered my messages into a special box in their computer. But it shocks me every once in a while, someone who I have not seen for a long time will come in and say, oh, I heard from Professor so-and-so, I should come and talk to you about this. And so that's not really something for the bar can do about, but for my colleagues to know about. It's like really making sure everybody in the building knows as much of everything, because they can be amplifiers, particularly for those people who are otherwise very, very distant for the folks in the bar world, the academic success world.
Gosh, that's really great to hear. So if we had something like, top 5 things you all should know, that was easy and short or whatever that they could keep around. And then I also heard earlier that having a personal story could matter. So if you had something like a piece that said, hey, I'm someone that took this program and here's what it meant to me. And here I am at my desk in my firm now as a licensed attorney, maybe having not only some head, but also some heart and a sign-up link. Yeah. Okay. Because, part of this is these are newer investments for us. And part of us being able to continue to invest the funding in doing it is showing the collaboration with you, which means finding out the best way to collaborate with you. So I really appreciate everybody jumping into the discussion all together, just in a very shared manner and in a very candid manner, because this is the type of feedback we need to keep advancing these kind of programs. And for members here, but also anyone out in the public, we still have the public comment email. We would welcome public suggestions. Please do share the questions. Please do share the thoughts that you have on this topic through that public comment email, and it'll also be shared with the groups here as well. And during our discussion and a couple of past discussions today, we saw a couple of public hands raised. And just a reminder that though the public comment period is past today, you can always still submit the written public comment through the email that's on the page as well. So Mary, very much appreciate this time. Thank you. And Ken, really appreciate the update on the program and excited to hear about a new one on the way.
Susan, you have a comment?
Just to ask Ken, for the new ADHD program, will we get a copy of the email that rolls out so that we know it's happening?
A communication plan has not yet been decided, but I will add that on my list of things to do. Thank you for this suggestion.
And the only other thing I would suggest is if we can't get it in the application to check a box for the various new programs, which by the way, they are all awesome. But if we can't get an easy check the box on the application, could we get something that goes in the confirmation email that says you have re-registered for the bar, you're a repeater, please take this program? Could we catch them at the back end? And basically all I need to know is where to tell them to find it.
Great idea. Thank you so much. I don't have so much insight into the process there, so that was very helpful feedback. Thank you.
Super good idea, Susan. Is that so? Or Ken, have we covered everything with your program? Did you have any other comments to share with us?
I do not. I'm just really excited about this new formulation following our pilot. I do want to thank you so much, Dean Basic, for all of the work that you've done to help the program.
Thank you so much, and thank you for presenting and sharing your program with all of us. I think it's an exciting initiative that the State Bar has undertaken. I'm hopeful that it has great stats to back it up, and it's all wonderful, and we are eager to hear how that all turns out, as are all the people waiting for bar results, I'm sure. The other business item we have is a
I think we might have lost Mary right when she was about to introduce our next item. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Mary, welcome back.
I don't know what happened, but I'm back. Okay, we are going to discuss the integration of artificial intelligence topics in the law school curricula and have faculty guidance for the use of artificial intelligence in law schools, exam development and grading. And Cody is going to lead us in this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I know that was a mouthful. I'm really excited to talk about this. I know the word artificial intelligence or AI is a bit of a trigger. It can either be very exciting or can roll some eyes. But I think there's a really interesting discussion that we can originate here in this meeting that I think is going to have a huge impact in our work. Before I move through the slides, I kind of want to just set expectations for what this discussion can look like. I want to provide just a quick background on some recent initiatives here at the State Bar and elsewhere that are relevant to this discussion and provide some interesting inspiration for our work ahead. And then I want to really just kind of tee up essentially just a series of questions I'd like to bring to the group to capture your experiences, your feedback. If a question doesn't apply, I think we're also curious to know if there's concerns or reservations about some of this technology that maybe explains why some of the ideas that I'm going to bring forward maybe aren't implemented at your law school. So I hope it doesn't become too repetitive, that we're just teeing up several questions, but I think it's maybe a good way to just start some discussion. And I will take notes throughout, and maybe we can find some jumping off points to explore some other areas as well. So I started, I think just acknowledging that I think the term artificial intelligence can make people feel many things. I do think there's probably general agreement here that the technology is here to stay. It has had a huge impact on the experiences of students and has had a huge impact in educational spaces. And I think one other characteristic of this technology is that it's rapidly evolving. And I think there are many entities, including those here at the State Bar, that are working to create frameworks that I think are both effective right now, but are adaptable moving forward. And so I just wanted to tip my hat to our Committee on Professional Responsibility and Conduct, COPRAC, who recently, I think late last year, developed what's called the Practical Guidance for the Use of Generative Artificial Intelligence in the Practice of Law. And that document is a really interesting and, again, kind of flexible living document that will be used to help lawyers navigate their ethical obligations when using AI. And I just want to underline that characteristic that COPRAC's guidance is a living document. So I think we are definitely in a place of wanting to gather information, provide insight and guidance where we can, but remain nimble because we understand that so much is changing and it's happening very fast. COPRAC's approach to developing this practical guidance document involved surveying lawyers, researching AI capabilities, really digging into the limitations and risks. And so I see these discussions here today, the beginning of, I think, a similar kind of informational gathering effort to understand how AI is implicated in our law school rules and regulations and our expectations for opportunities for students, as well as how it impacts our exam and our assessments as well. I think those are two areas that haven't been touched yet by some of the work being done here at the State Bar. That doesn't mean, though, that the impact of AI on the educational space, legal education space, is void. There are some really great efforts already underway. I wanted to underline the American Bar Association's task force on law and artificial intelligence, and particularly their legal education survey, which I think provided some really interesting insights about how law schools and curriculum are changing in response to this new reality. And I just want to point out some of the most interesting findings. That survey found that over half of law schools that responded to this ABA survey offered some sort of AI dedicated class. 83% provided curricular opportunities to learn how to use the tools. And 69% have adapted their academic integrity policies and other policies in response to AI. So I think, one of the takeaways is that in addressing this new technology, at least some law schools are taking a very comprehensive approach, right? They're thinking about how to help their students kind of skill up and learn how to use the tools. They're thinking about how the topics being discussed in the classroom are impacted and are relevant to AI, and they're also, changing their own policies. So I point to this COPRAC guidance document and this ABA survey to first just suggest there's a lot happening in the space. A lot of it being oriented towards attorneys, some of it now coming to the forefront related to law schools. And now I want to talk about what we're tasked with here at the State Bar. The Board of Trustees, excuse me, directed the Office of Admissions along with the Committee of Bar Examiners to explore AI topics. And the two focus areas were this. One, exploring required courses at California accredited law schools and other law schools related to AI. And then on the other side, developing regulations and rules related to the bar exam and AI. And so I'm hoping today's discussion, after we explore this discussion, our staff can have a better understanding of how AI is already being incorporated at your law school, whether it's in their curricula or policies, and also understanding how some of these tools are maybe being used with regard to student assessments and exams. If they're not, I also am interested in understanding again those concerns and questions, because I think all of this will help us understand how to move forward in exploring these topics. I also don't want to take for granted that, again, the use of the term AI is somewhat loose right now. Some of the terms that I might say, or that you might hear in these discussions, include one, generative artificial intelligence. Those might be the most common or most familiar tools at this point. Those are going to be the types of tools like ChatGPT that you submit an input, typically a prompt, and what comes out of the tool is some sort of output. And so, in our space, an example could be drafting a brief based on a set of facts. There are a lot of tools, though, that are already using kind of the machine learning aspect. And I just wanted to make sure these terms are clear. Those would be the kinds of tools that automate tasks using kind of patterns and pattern recognition. So, for example, perhaps a tool performs first pass grading using patterns identified from a set of submitted correct responses. And so these two buckets kind of encapsulate, I think, probably the most common AI tools, and those that are more likely to come up in the work that you and I are performing. Okay, so before I kick off any questions and start to gather some feedback, I just wanted to highlight, I think, considerations that I think you all might raise, but I just wanted to almost seed them here prior to the discussion so we can be cognizant to think about these things. I recognize that not every institution or entity has the same ability to invest in these technologies. And we're going to have a similar conversation with other law schools at our CS Bars meeting. And I think this component, the cost of adopting new technologies, might come up. And so I want to point that out as maybe a consideration that we can discuss here. I've also heard, and I know this is of the utmost importance to many, how these tools are trained can really perpetuate existing biases that exist in the data that's used to train these models. And so you can imagine using maybe a machine learning tool for student assessment, how bias could play a role, and that is an important consideration in adopting tools. Confidentiality and security, of course, one of the top discussions right now related to artificial intelligence tools is what happens with the data that's input. And that can be everything from materials that are created, right? IP considerations, but it can also be related to personal information and the personal information of the individuals that we work on behalf of or represent. And lastly, I think it's also important to recognize that not everyone who works in our space, whether it's at a law school or whether it's on a regulatory side or anyone else that plays a role in all of our work, has the same level of familiarity with these tools, and training and exposure to AI tools is also maybe something that is a challenge. So that's a lot already. I want to just move us forward. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I missed our slides here, but we can move forward to what I think is my first question that I want to bring to the group here. And so I'm keeping these questions broad, but I have, I think in my pocket, some additional follow-ups that I might bring forward. But I just want to start with, does your law school currently, or do you plan to offer classes or other academic opportunities based on how to use artificial intelligence tools in the work of, in whatever students' anticipated legal work looks like? Susan, I think that was your hand that was raised.
Hey, Cody.
Hey, Susan.
I just, right before this meeting, was at a meeting on use of AI in legal writing. And I think that's where a lot of schools are going to see some of this taught, partially out of necessity, that students are going to use it if not told to, and they're going to use it whether they're instructed on how to use it or not. And that the conversation has shifted a lot from the very beginning, which was the discussion of ban it versus embrace it, to it has now become much more of a discussion about AI as a tool with pros and cons, teaching them not only how to use it, but when to use it, when not to use it. And I think that there's going to be a lot of that in law schools and in legal writing classes in particular. There's also been a lot of discussion about integration into ethics, where you can and cannot use this, though increasingly, my own school included, Copilot is now protected. So as we see increasingly protected or proprietary systems, I think it really changes the landscape for how much law schools feel comfortable doing. I think some of the initial skepticism of Lexis AI left people a little bit backing off, that may come back to the fold and be a little more interested in doing it as well. But there have been lots of themes, everything from ethics, professional ethics, to also just law school ethics, plagiarism concerns, obviously. But I think we're going to see a lot more sort of subject matter variance. I think you're going to see clinicians have one kind of interest, legal writing professors have another, and those giving a traditional Socratic class with one exam at the end, having yet a different set of concerns about using or not using AI.
That sounds about right. I'm curious, Susan, if this came up in that discussion, or maybe you just have your own insights to share. But in thinking about, let's say in that scenario, right, there's some specialization that's happening here with the use of these tools. I think the next question that comes to my mind is, well, then who is equipped to train these students in using these tools? And I guess I'm curious to know if like existing faculty are themselves the best teachers of these tools, or if you have to, or if there's a certain feeling that there's maybe specialized training just about these tools to equip educators to then pass on the information about how to use these tools in the right way.
I have no special insights. I'm hoping Tiffany and Devin are going to follow up with some fabulous information. At my school, it is very much sort of I hate this phrase, but it's an academic freedom issue. Like everybody will be doing their own thing, right? So if you want to have the librarians teach your students about AI, you can have the Lexis folks come do that. If you want to do it yourself, you can do that. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. So I suspect we will have lots of people in lots of different camps as we watch this develop.
Okay, that's certainly interesting, and maybe in its own way creates some disparities in who ultimately gets the best type of access and exposure to these tools. I can only see Tiffany's name with hands raised. I think it's Tiffany plus others, but Tiffany, hopefully you were first.
I think so.
Okay, good.
So we've created a training module for students about generative AI that our law library helped create. It's completely optional. But we've thought pretty deeply about this in the last year. We also had both a board faculty retreat and a faculty retreat on this topic. And that's led to some faculty incorporating generative AI into their classes in some interesting ways. The overall theme that we've gotten in terms of feedback is that as students start incorporating this into some of the things they're doing, they're recognizing this is a tool, but often the tool and the work that comes after using it, at least at this stage, is more work than if they had just done the research themselves in terms of really understanding the nuances. Because sometimes what generative AI does is it takes two premises that are correct independently and combines them in a way that makes them incorrect. And at one of these retreats, we even saw, even after we turned off hallucinations on some of these modules, we saw that they were making up cases or they were making up holdings or things like that. So giving students the opportunity to really understand this is a tool, but like any tool, it has some significant limitations, and you still have to bring your legal analysis and understanding to bear, has been really helpful for our students.
That's really interesting. I think it's a good reminder in adopting some of these new technologies that it may not be a straight line. There's going to be tools, there might be kind of a reflex in response to these early tools that are introduced. And so there's going to be maybe some leaning in and leaning away from these tools over time. If I could, Tiffany, ask one follow-up, I'm curious, in developing that training module, it sounds like you all determined it was best to kind of develop something in-house. I'm curious if you're able to share kind of what considerations went into whether or not it should be developed in-house or whether maybe an outside expert or consultant is brought in to develop something like that.
I will say I was not deeply involved. I was involved in pushing this out, but not in the decision of how to develop it. So I don't want to speculate too much, but we have a number of folks on both our staff side and our faculty side who are really interested in this topic. And so I think their expertise is part of what helped lead to that development. I don't know if they worked with an external group to help with that, but I believe that it was developed entirely in-house.
Okay. I'm not surprised to hear that. I know if you're very interested in this technology, you kind of want to, stand on the mountaintops and yell it out. And so you'd probably be willing to invest some time in developing a module like this. So very interesting and cool. Devin, I think you were next in raising your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably we are in pretty similar to lots of other folks that the conversations at Santa Clara were really just driven based on sort of our academic integrity policy. Like there was a lot of hair on fire about, oh my gosh, what does ChatGPT mean for that? And so that felt like all of the conversations. And I think our policy now have been updated to address AI. And I think the assumption is that our writing professors who carry kind of the heaviest load around teaching students around and academic integrity issues are going to be the ones to carry the weight for it. And that's, I imagine, is true in a lot of other places. Sort of two other things I wanted to note. One is because we have such a tech focus at Santa Clara, we've had coursework on AI for a while. And so there definitely been sort of particularly sort of legal issues, ethical issues have been part of our curriculum for a couple of years. We just hired a brand new faculty member. And if you're sort of, as you plan for this and ever want to get in touch with somebody, you might put on your list to get in touch with Ed Lee, who's like literally probably just starting this week, though I have not been to the building to see him, who brings a lot of expertise in this area and comes to us from Chicago. And I imagine we'll be sort of building out some of our AI related coursework and programming for our students. The one thing I wanted to note, this summer during the bar summer, I had a bar taker come in and said, hey, I asked ChatGPT to predict for me what the bar essay questions were going to be. And I said, oh, I love bar predictions. And my favorite thing was essentially ChatGPT predicted that anything could be tested on the bar exam. So it did exactly what I expected it would.
That's great. Well, Devin, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit because this is going to be part of the next slide, but I am curious in the coursework that already includes AI and kind of related technologies, it sounds like, at least for now, it's these discussions and the coursework is kind of integrated into existing courses. You haven't like introduced new courses specifically on these topics?
I mean, I don't know how long we've offered, but we've had an AI in the law class for a while. And so
okay.
It doesn't feel like it became a new thing in the last, 18 months when everyone started talking about it. I don't know if we are just amazingly ahead of the game or what, but it was very funny. Like I remember seeing it in our schedule 2 or 3 years ago and being like, oh, wow, that's interesting to me as someone who doesn't know anything about it. So maybe we're a little ahead of the game. I don't know.
That's great. I think you were to some extent, which is very cool. And Mary Beth, I see your hands raised as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I will add this. I mean, we have had and we still have an AI in the law class, but I don't think that's really what you're talking about. Like, I don't think in the AI in the law class, they're learning how to use AI in the law. I think they're studying the regulations and rules surrounding artificial intelligence. I think that the practical uses of AI are going to come up in all sorts of courses and are going to be integrated, as Susan and Tiffany and Devin have alluded to, mainly in the legal skills classes, which include legal research, legal writing, and other skills of being a lawyer. It's also coming up, I think, in PR quite a bit. I'm teaching PR this summer. In the summer compressed course, there's not a lot of time to get into like all of the ways in which the use of AI impacts students' ability to be professionally responsible. But I think that's an area where if you teach PR, if you teach legal skills of any kind, you're having to get more up to speed than maybe if you're teaching torts. But that said, the last 2 summers worth of conferences have, been, and the AALS conference, like every other session, it feels like has a, like, what are we going to do about AI component to it. I have been to so many presentations by legal writing people, but also by other skills people and more doctrinal people on sort of the implications and what we do. The Associate Dean's conferences and the Associate Dean's section programs at AALS were focused on the academic integrity components of AI and what this means. And I will just tell you from my own school's perspective, we have a committee now that's going to be really trying to figure out if we're going to have a school policy. Right now, it's very much similar to what Susan said, like everyone can adopt their own policy for their own class about the use of AI in the class. And are you going to teach the students how to use it? Or are you going to forbid it? How are you going to forbid it? Right? I think we have a recognition that they will be using it. For my own legal writing class this fall, I plan to actually convert at least one assignment into an in-class proctored writing assignment, because I am so concerned that no matter what I say about the use of generative artificial intelligence, I will not be able to detect it or control if students are using it. And when I had a presentation by Lexis AI in the spring, and they're, oh, it's great, don't worry, no hallucinations. Well, that turned out not to be accurate. But I also pressed the presenters on this issue of, you're giving a tool to first-year students who don't know how to use it yet, who you need to first train us faculty on how to ethically and effectively use it so that we can train the students. And the response of the presenters was basically like, it's fine, there's no problem giving anyone this tool. And my response was, if you've been practicing law for, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you know what to look for. We're charged with teaching students what to look for. It's not enough to say, you need to use this tool carefully. You need to do the research to make sure that what the generative AI is producing is okay. Because if they don't have the skill to know that something doesn't look right or that something is a hallucination, they don't know what they don't know. So I do think we're in a difficult position as legal educators to say, okay, this tool has been unleashed, but it's a tool that you have no idea what to do with. And so how we integrate it effectively is something I'm still personally trying to figure out for my own classes, and trying to recognize that I don't think anyone, and I've gone to a lot of training sessions, and I've gone to a lot of people who are like, Yahoo, this is great, we're going to teach them how to use it. And so far, I have not been impressed that anyone really knows how to effectively teach novice learners, right? People who know nothing about the law, how to use this tool effectively. Sorry, that's a bit of a downer comment.
No, I think there was so much valuable there. I want to maybe kind of repackage one of the comments you made towards the end there, and just maybe kind of present it in a different way. But it sounds like one of the considerations you have is kind of when law students really engage with this technology, and perhaps it could be more successful if they have access to it kind of after they have some core skills, maybe related to research or ethics, or just some other foundational understandings, so that when they are engaging with the tool, they can do so maybe kind of in a more informed way. And I'm
Yeah,
not saying you
and
think that's the permanent fix, but it's maybe something that we should consider in discussing these topics.
for sure. And I will say that last year when Lexis AI was trying to roll out the new generative AI component, we said, do not give it to our first years until late in the spring semester. And so our first year students did not have access to kind of the full complement of the Lexis package because we wanted to have an opportunity to get ahead of it. But that won't be the case this year, right? It's just part of what the students get free through Westlaw and Lexis and all of these other legal research online tools. So last year we did have the benefit of it not rolling out until we had a chance to sort of lay the foundation for the legal research skills. And now we don't have that benefit.
Got it. Tiffany, I think you've raised your hand again.
Yeah, apparently I have a lot to say about this. I'm sorry. To echo a lot of what Mary Beth just said, we also have some classes and actually an institute on AI, but that's really focused on what that's going to do, like what AI means for the law, which is, I think, a different question than you're asking. With respect to the question you're asking, I agree we're having especially our legal writing folks are really grappling with how do we incorporate this in a way that feels ethical. Something that was interesting that came out of some of the assignments that were done in some of the classes is faculty saying, I wouldn't have known, but for the fact that I've studied this topic for so many years, that this thing that AI spit out was actually incorrect, right? That expertise that they have is something that was really pivotal to using the tool well. So it actually emphasized the need of expertise to them and the students. But also because there are really no good platforms that can detect what's human written versus AI written, most of our exams are presumptively in person now, which has also been quite a shift from the pandemic. So that's some things that are really changing here.
Yeah, so Tiffany, that's kind of a perfect segue. I changed the slide mid-discussion because I just want to be mindful of time. And I did want to kind of pivot to opening the floor to kind of talking and spotlighting kind of additional concerns or questions. I've heard, I think now twice, kind of about rethinking the way that exams or material or coursework is performed to try to address AI technology. I'm curious if you have kind of more to share beyond just that they're in the classroom. Are there other kind of precautions being taken or different kind of exam design approaches that are being implemented to combat this? Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think I've heard in these two examples, at least kind of more in-person work or assessments. Oh, Susan, go ahead.
I'll just add to go back to our earlier conversation today.
Mhm.
If the state bar does in fact become completely remotely administered, I do think there is an opportunity for more law school exams to be remotely administered. And that may change some of the concerns if you have sort of the recording, the live proctoring, the things that the software companies can now provide. So I think if we do see some of that happen, that will also be another change that happens here, along with right now, just of course, like Tiffany, we're doing the same thing. And a take-home exam is now much more problematic.
Yeah, and certainly in our in the future exam, I think we have committed to remote platforms that include live proctors, and also, these new opportunities to implement maybe a dual camera proctoring. So, I guess I guess it's kind of an analogy to an in-person exam because you have more visibility. You can see more of what's happening on the screen. So while the exam is going to be in the future likely remote, I think we're definitely cognizant of bringing in some of these new proctoring technologies to increase kind of the visibility of what's happening during the exam. And Mary Beth.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to, right?
Mhm.
And so, which we'll see how that all works out. And I do want to just echo, like, we've really gone hard on the idea that for bar tested subjects, you need to do in-person exams, and not take homes. And we're back to really doing that. And again, like, I'm even going to, in my legal writing class, turn what would be a take-home written paper into essentially more of a PT styled writing assignment where I can watch the students do their writing.
I'm curious how that's been received. I mean, I think even though many of us may be relying on some of these technologies more and more, I think there's a general agreement that they do pose some risks. And so I guess have students been somewhat reasonable in understanding the motivations for pivoting back to in-person exams?
In my experience, yes. I think
That's good.
that in my experience, the students actually, they're concerned about other classmates not following the rules and having an edge. Like, they feel that there is more integrity in a proctored exemplify exam than in a take home.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to be mindful of our time running short here and just move on to the exam component. So as I mentioned, the board has directed the Office of Admissions and the Committee of Bar Examiners to explore like rules and policies around the bar exam itself and AI. And I think there's some obvious risks that we've talked here about, whether it's the use of generative AI and responding to assessments or whatnot. But it also opened the door to kind of just assessing what technologies are out there. And so I wanted to use this discussion as an opportunity to maybe learn from you all about the tools that you're using. And I know there's been like a rapid proliferation around AI tools for developing exam questions or just coursework in general, often using maybe previous materials as a starting point. And so I'm wondering if your schools use any of this technology or have piloted it, explored it, or the opposite, maybe find it to be deeply concerning. Just would love to get a temperature check and some input on that. Susan?
I guess we fall into the camp of exploring it. We have at least one faculty member who has used it to generate exam questions and distributed that. And I think he's actually turning it into an article. And so one of the things that I noticed in the multiple choice questions that were generated by AI was some things that are not best practices. Use of proper names, use of, instead of terms, instead of buyer and seller, people had names. Some of that bias creeping back in that we know AI can have. Now, personally, I love using AI to generate legal writing problems, to generate exam ideas and essays, because it's fabulous. You can give it an old one and say, make me something like this with a new issue, and it can do it. So I have had some fantastic success on the user end of it for drafting things, because then I think you can control the editing process. But again, back to our earlier comments, there is a much different use between an expert's use of it and a student's use of it. But I do find it very good at doing these things if there is the proper amount of editing and vetting and all of those things on the back end. I do think it's good for professors for generation of ideas and things like that. But boy, I was shocked that it had a lot of things, like it didn't always use 4 answers. It didn't always do the sort of MBE 2 yes, 2 no kinds of formats. It violated a lot of what a lot of us think as standard practice.
Okay. And I'm hearing there, Susan, and I think this is something that many of us agree with. The human review component is absolutely essential. I don't think that message can be sent home enough that these products don't produce final drafts, they produce starting points. Okay, so interesting, piloting the technology. Anyone else here have any experience or interest in this type of AI usage? I guess then to flip that on its head, is there a reason why not? Or maybe it's concerns about using maybe like, I don't know, proprietary information as inputs for some of these tools and kind of losing control of existing materials. Perhaps it's the bias issue as well. Devin?
I mean, I can share that the the extent of my exposure to these kind of things has mostly been like, oh, this is a fun thing to play with while they're teaching us about it in a workshop. It's just not a part of my repertoire yet. And maybe it will be one day when I have like time to think about it and really learn it. But God, it sounds crazy to say, but I'm like already so set in my way about the way I create my exams and stuff. Like I can't imagine trying to adapt to a new technology unless someone can show me like, wow, look how good it is and look how much easier it is. But right now, I think I'm too worried about all of the bad stories that I hear and the mistakes that can come up. And I'm too busy to try to sort of learn something new that is not going to make things easier for me right away.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. I think there's certainly many individuals who kind of want to adopt these technologies once their value and effectiveness are better demonstrated and not be part of necessarily, I guess, what's kind of like a beta test of all of this that we're all living through right now. So that makes a lot of sense. Mary Beth, I think your hand went up as well.
Yeah, I guess I also just want to bring up the concerns about what will eventually be the cost of this. And I think that there are things we need to be thinking about that a lot of people are not thinking about. Eventually, this is going to need to cost a lot of money. Right now, a lot of it is free and available while everything is being beta tested. But eventually, in terms of the environmental resources that it's going to take to run these large platforms, and in terms of the amount it's going to cost, I think we're going to start seeing price tags on it. And I think people getting too reliant on it is a concern and a question. And in the same way that I try to teach my students about the perils of being overly reliant on broad-based searches and online research, because eventually when your firm is on a plan and you don't have the ability to search the whole of the platform, I think we have a responsibility to teach our students how to do things in a more cost-effective way. And I don't think AI is going to be a cost-effective way down the line.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm hearing the cost itself will be high, and also maybe difficulty kind of anticipating what future costs will look like. So planning is also, it sounds like it is an issue. Well, I want to be mindful of time. We have 1 minute left, so I will leave it there. I think we will be engaging law schools and other stakeholders in other ways as we kind of continue to explore this topic. And I think this is an issue that you'll likely hear from other teams at the state bar as well, just because it's so interesting and rapidly evolving. So I thank you all really for the input and candid feedback in today's discussion. And yeah, thank you. I'll send it back to you, Mary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the discussion, Cody. I think it was interesting for all of us to hear what each other are doing. That brings us to the conclusion of the meeting, and we are going to adjourn. I want to once again thank everybody for their service on the Law School Council this year, especially Nydia Johnson, who this is her last meeting, and that's the end. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.